should I be worried about keeping money in the stock market after I retire?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, actually. The way that we would answer it is pretty straightforward. We would go in and create the financial plan. We would find out all of the money outflows that somebody thinks they need, going forward. We would take a look at the assets that they do have in total, and then what other incomes are coming in from outside, like Social Security or pensions and those types of things. And we can use Monte Carlo simulation and run different types of portfolios. So you could say, okay, what if I had no stock? What's my probability of success? What if I had 50% stock or 80% stock? And you can run these and find the probability of success. I remember very specifically a case with a lady that came to a seminar. This was way back, probably 20 years ago. Uh, she came in to see me. She had never invested anything ever. She really liked the banks. She had $1 million in CDs and savings and checking and those type of things. My first thought when I was talking to her is like, wow, I mean, she was probably about 67. I was thinking to myself, that could be a lot of money if it was invested in the market, over a long period of time. But the more I got to know her, she was very comfortable. She was very happy with what was happening there. And she had a very, very reasonable standard of living. At that time, I'm going to make these numbers up because I don't remember everything, but it was roughly 40,000 a year she was spending. And she had $25,000 coming in from Social Security. So the amount of money she needed to supplement her lifestyle was 15,000. Now, she's going to need more and more and more over time, right? Because Social Security probably won't keep up and inflation's going to grow. And so, but I'm telling you, on $1 million sitting in cash, even if she just withdrew principal, she probably wasn't going to run out of money, and she was quite happy. So, having said that, you could get the same situation with somebody who needs $100,000 instead of 40, and they're going to run out of money pretty quickly because they have so much money need to make their lifestyle work. And so that person, that $1 million, needs probably more stock market exposure just to keep up with that expenditure and the inflation you might have. We can tell that from Monte Carlo simulation. So there's no blanket answer. Um, I think what happens is you kind of have this dual risk side. On one side, if you get more conservative, you get rid of the stock market risk, but you bring in the risk of running out of money because of inflation or degrading your lifestyle. On the other side, if I add more stock, I add that risk of the stock market, but I probably take down a little bit the risk of degrading my lifestyle over the long term because stocks have done a decent job long term of keeping up with inflation and beating inflation and helping people. So it's a really interesting question. It just depends on the situation. It comes up quite often, actually, as far as that goes. I think it's interesting. I had a client I just met with. They'd withdrawn about $300,000 from their account, made 250,000 in growth, and they were talking about the possibility of having more bonds instead of stock. It was roughly a 50-50 account at that time. And I said, well, the only problem is, you had a $50,000 deficit. You withdrew more than it made. And so if you go to more bonds long term, you're going to make less. And you might end up with $100,000 or $150,000 deficit. And so there's kind of that's a loss too when it's not making enough money and you're still living at the same standard of living. And so it's a tough one to do. It's a tough question to answer, but that's how you have to look at it on both sides. If you're not withdrawing anything, then and you don't need it for a really long period of time, you can probably do almost anything with it for that matter. Right? But it's most people are heading into retirement to withdraw something from their assets. Not all, but a lot. So